Okay.
Okay, so we're live. All right. So this is the Pagan Moms Hangout. We do monthly at the last Saturday for Americans and Sundays for Australians or people in the Eastern Hemisphere. Um, and this week we are talking about self-care. As you notice, there are just two of us. The other
Yeah.
girls had other shit to do or were not feeling well, and that's perfectly fine. And my cat's trying to knock my headphones out of me or go away. Anyway, so though we started late, I'd be surprised if we make it an hour. So this may be a short one just because it's two of us. But Michelle's back. Woo!
Hello.
So you want to just jump right into it?
Yeah, let's see. So the topic is self-care as a pagan mom, and the first question we have is, what does self-care mean to you? So do you want me to start with my answer, or do you want to go?
I'll go. So self-care for me as a mom, it's making sure you're healthy, you're in a right mental state, like you're getting enough sleep, you're capable of being physically and mentally healthy to take care of your children and family.
Right.
I'm trying not to have a hiccup. Sorry.
That's about the same for me. During the first probably 6 or 7 years of my daughter's life, I did not, practice any type of self-care. I totally forgot about myself, which sucks. But yeah, I mean, we need to take time out and, take care of ourselves. That way we were able to take care of our kids.
Yeah, and I think it's really common for moms to put themselves last and then they end up having big crashes, like they're sick for weeks or
Mm-hmm.
they're super depressed, and being depressed is part of needing self-care because that helps, especially for people who have like postpartum. Self-care is absolutely a necessity.
Yeah, I
um,
went through that for a good 3 or 4 months
mhm.
after I had my daughter because she had colic and cried every waking moment of her life. And so I didn't sleep ever. And yeah, I was a walking zombie, couldn't think, couldn't function, cried all the time with my kid. So yeah, it was
That is
terrible.
not abnormal. I know my sister, who's like 5 years older than me, she was a colicky baby. I just never slept as a baby, and I'm very lucky. Adrian slept very well as a baby. He's always had a really good temperament. Um,
I
but
was
yeah,
always so jealous of my friends that had kids like that. I'm like, oh, I just wanted to sleep for 4 hours straight. It would be, oh.
I think it's more common to have less sleep and not be a very functional individual for the first couple months compared to people who have children who are really easy. I think that's a rarity, honestly, or
Yeah,
they're lying. There are some parents who are like, "Oh yeah, he's perfect." No, you just want to sound really like you have an ideal life, and like, no, children are very difficult,
yeah,
even those who are easy to take care of.
right.
Um, I'm trying to think. But yeah, I think a lot of times, women, especially in the parent couple, if especially if there's a couple involved with the children, kind of feel guilty. Um,
Big time,
take,
yeah.
Taking care of themselves. They're like, oh, well, that's kind of selfish of me. Even if it's just like, say, once a month you go and get your nails done, which is like what, a half hour out of a month.
Yeah,
Something really minor, doesn't cost a lot, and it makes you feel good. Or even having a bath where there are no children bugging you. Everybody's out of the house.
yeah.
you know, that could be so minor, can do huge things for
I always
someone.
felt guilty when my daughter was young. If I had to take a shower, I would have to put her in her little like bouncy chair thing in front of the door. So, she was in
Mhm.
front of me. I never had a moment to myself, like ever. And even when I did, when my husband would be home watching her, that's all I thought about was hurrying up to get back to the kid. And, I can't waste too much time, drying my hair, God forbid,
Right.
and I felt so guilty just doing stuff without, having her there with me. And if I knew then what I know now,
You'd be like,
Yeah.
Good.
You're fine. You'll live. Trust me. But
Yeah, and especially when you're a first parent, I think, and that's your only child, correct?
yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think, a first child type thing. Is because I hear when people have a second child, they're like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, they're way more
You know?
lax about it. Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, because that by then you know how it goes. You know the whole
You know what to
spiel of how
expect.
to. Yeah, and so yeah, the kid can wait for 10 minutes while I take a bath, or
Children will not break from
right.
generations
You
to
can sit with grandma while I go get my nails done. Okay.
you.
I just couldn't do it for the first, gosh, 6, 7 years, even after that. But now I'm like, bye, I'm going.
Well, she's also a teenager now.
Well, yeah.
It's a little easier. But like my first year, John was home. I mean, he was working, but he joined the military after a year. So and he got deployed immediately for a year and a half. But that first year, I was very lucky. He was very active in taking care of Adrian, especially the first couple of months because I had a C-section, had a lot of complications. I was laid up
Ooh,
most of the time.
yeah.
Yeah, not fun. So more of a necessity.
Right.
But even when I was good enough just to, he had to go back to work at some point, like after the 6 weeks, I think. Um,
Well, that brings us to our second question then. Did you, during pregnancy and after birth, have a good sense of self-care?
I think my husband had a better sense of it for me than I did. He's like, all right, go take a nap. I'm like, thank you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, mine
Um,
would try and do the same thing, but I would never do it.
no, I'm the mom.
Yeah.
And though it's just as fair for them to take care of the child too. I think it's different when you're carrying the child for 9 months.
Right.
Mhm.
I feel like it's my
Um,
ultimate responsibility, like nobody else's but mine.
right, and I wonder how much of that is like societal um, ideas that are pushed on us, or if that's
Right.
like an ingrained thing.
I don't know. I felt it because I was so young when I had my daughter. I didn't think I would feel that ridiculous bond that parents were
Mhm.
talking about before. When I was pregnant, I'm like, whatever, just a kid. I'll put her in a little swing and do whatever I need to do. And then when I finally had her, that's when I felt that connection.
Mhm.
It was scary for me, especially being so young. I was only 21 when I had her, and it was scary. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have this life that is completely my responsibility. Even though I had my husband that could, that would help take care of her, my mom, and I
Mhm.
just felt like it was all on me. So during, right after I had her, I had absolutely no sense of self-care.
Mhm.
Of
It
course,
was
during
like,
pregnancy, I pampered myself, but
well, of course. It's like, I'm going to eat all these foods. I'm going to not do anything. And I'm pregnant because I can get away with
I use that as a free
it.
pass to put anything and everything in my mouth that I could possibly fit in it. It was
I
bad.
think a lot of us do that.
I gained a lot of weight, but whatever. I had fun. It was, got to eat whatever I wanted. Got to, demand that people bring me food. It was wonderful.
Yeah, lots of McDonald's for me. I was not a healthy person during that.
I wasn't either.
Add on to the complications as well. But yeah, during pregnancy, it was my pregnancy was other than the last like 2 months or so was pretty easy. I never threw up. I had nausea, but I never threw up. I didn't have anything other than gestational diabetes, which again was pretty easy to take care of. You just took shots and pills, and you're good. I mean,
I
I
didn't
never
have the
finished
diabetes. I had
anemia.
the morning sickness. Oh,
Mm-mm.
I
It was
didn't have
going
morning sickness. I had all day sickness for like 3 months. It was, oh,
Ew.
yeah,
See,
it was terrible.
I was finishing up my associate's degree. I graduated in June, and I had Adrian in August. So I was going to school that entire time. So I would very rarely miss school. And I think maybe I shouldn't have pushed myself so much, but I also knew if I didn't get that done before he came into the world, it would have taken a long time to finish that up.
And you,
I
you
would not be
graduated,
able to
right?
move myself. Yeah, yeah, with my
I
associates.
dropped out of
Once
college because I was pregnant. Never finished.
I had
And
pretty easy classes. I had like sign language. What we fucking do. Yeah, I know. Being blind, I had sign language, but it was actually pretty easy for me. And then I had some science lab classes that I actually got out of doing a lot of the field trip labs because I was pregnant. And I was noticeably pregnant. I was in like early stages pregnant. I was like, I am not going to walk miles
Right.
to find rocks. Plus, being blind doesn't help. So,
Yeah, really.
in some ways, with my pregnancy, I was mindful of being pregnant, and majority of the teachers I had were very chill about it. They didn't like. They understood if I didn't come to school, they weren't going to be like freaking out about it. Um, yeah, but my pregnancy was the self care during pregnancy was, I think, fine. I was in a good mental state, but the immediate like month, 2 months prior, I started getting some complications. So obviously stress, but up till labor, I was fine. And then especially immediate afterwards of having a child, I was nope, no. Other than the very basics of making sure I was healing and stuff. But I know I pushed myself more than I should have before I was done healing. That's probably why it took even longer than the average person to heal from my C-section and the complications from it. But mentally, I did not heal very well for about 2 years, probably until John actually got back from deployment, because that just exacerbated the issues I was having prior to that.
Yeah. Wow.
And then Adrian getting diagnosed with autism, like between what he was like 1.5, I think 1.5, 2 years old when he was diagnosed.
Oh,
So
wow, really?
It's like one thing after another. It was a big snowball of clusterfuck. So mental state was not all that great. But when John was deployed, the later half, I started going to therapy, started taking medication to like tamp down anxiety and work with like postpartum shit and stuff. And it helped. And sometimes you need therapy or you need to go see a doctor for some of the issues. Don't blow off depression if it's really affecting your day-to-day life. Like, depression's going to happen. Your hormones are out of whack after pregnancy, especially, and they need to get back into a normal state of things. And being depressed occasionally is going to happen. Being emotional is going to happen. But if it becomes like a daily invasive thing where it's causing issues in your regular life, then yeah, absolutely go to like doctors and whatnot. And there's no shame in that, though a lot of people tend to apply that to people like, well, you don't need to do that. You should buck up and take care of it.
Yeah.
No.
I ignored mine, and I didn't ignore it, but I just kept trying to push it out. Like, it'll go away. I didn't really acknowledge it. I would just, cry with cry when the baby cried, and, wish for sleep. I mean, she would just cry, so I would do everything, and nothing would help her. Feed her, change her, play with her, this, nothing. So I would just sit there and just watch her cry, and I would cry with her, and I would just think how I'm a terrible mother. I don't know what I'm doing. Oh my gosh. And then when she would finally go to sleep, I would lay there like, my eyes like wide open, like I can't sleep, and it sucked. It sucked. I felt like shit, but I kept ignoring. I'm like, it'll get better. It'll get better. It'll get better. And I was just miserable the whole, I don't know. It was like 4 or 5 months after she was born where I was just like, ugh. But eventually I got out of the funk, and but still never took care of myself. I mean, I felt guilty because my daughter was born on January 20th, and I was still 21. I turned 22 a month later, and from the time we brought her home till the time I had my birthday, she was with me 24/7. My mom would come over and help me, but I was always there. And my mom insisted, have her come over and drop her off, and you go out for your birthday, have fun. I'm like, I can't do that. I felt completely guilty. We went out, had dinner, had fun, came home, and I just sat there staring at her little baby stuff, crying all night. It's like I couldn't allow myself to enjoy anything, which sucked. But, I didn't start really trying to take care of myself until she was at least 5 years old, at least 4 or 5. But I think a lot of moms go through that. Yeah, a lot of moms do that. It's just like, it's so overwhelming, the responsibility, that you feel like you have to throw everything at it and just forget anything you want to do. You know, everything's about your kid and your family, and that's it. But I mean, yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, and again, I was lucky because John's always been a wonderful father. When he found out he was getting deployed, he actually cried, and that's really the only, I think, one other time he cried that I know of. He's not that type of guy. He's not all that emotional. But
well, your son was a baby at the time, right?
Yeah, he just turned 1.
Oh, see, yeah, that would suck.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't imagine. Could you imagine that being like you having to do that?
A lot of guys do that and could care 2 shits about it.
Yeah, I know,
or be affected but not get like uber emotional. A lot of guys tend to be, I don't want to say distant is the right word. They may be good parents, but they're not as like emotionally involved, I guess. It's hard to explain. They don't show it. Right. They keep feel the love and all that stuff, but it's shown very differently oftentimes than how the mother shows. But no, John's a huggy kissy dad, very, very affectionate and very caring. He still treats him like a damn baby, and I'm like, cut that shit out. Let him do it, because before you know it, let him do it, because before you know it, he's going to be an adult and not going to want nothing to do with him. You know, I mean, who knows? I used to get made fun of by my family like all the time, because I would always lay with my daughter every night. Mm-hmm. You know, before she went to bed, I would lay with her for like an hour, and we would like talk and cuddle, and I would lay there until she fell asleep. And you know, my mom and my husband would tell me, "You need to stop doing that. You know, you're babying her. Well, eventually she told me, "You know what, Mom? You don't need to come in here tonight," which of course broke my heart, and I cried for hours. But when she was like, she had just turned like 11 at that point, and you know, that was like our time to like hang out and one-on-one every day. The preteens, dun dun dun. So when she turned 11, she was like, "Yeah, no, you don't need to be in here," and you know, it all ends eventually. So, which sucks. Yeah. Now it's like having 2 kids, really. Like now that my daughter's 16, I look at it and it's like I had 2 kids. Mm-hmm. I had this cute young little girl, and then now I have this totally different, completely different. Pain in the ass teenager. Yeah, bitchy teenager. Yeah, so that is the point of being a teenager. You're supposed to be a pain in the ass. Yeah, I know I was. Yeah, me too. But yeah, and I think some people can take being over parenting a little too far, or babying too far, but I think having a bond with your child is important, definitely. Yeah. And it can make us feel better as parents having that bond, obviously. Or break your heart. It does, man. I'm telling you. It sucks. Them kids growing up suck. But let's see. Number 3, our next question is, what would you recommend to pregnant and first-time moms regarding self-care? Oh, I'm sure we can both say a list. I would say number 1, do not, if someone's offering to help you, do not deny it. Seriously. Exactly. Like, accept the help when it's offered, because they may not offer again. Like, for example, we stayed with my parents the first night I got out of the hospital. And me and my mom got in a tiff over something really stupid. I think she was just in a bad mood, and I obviously was not feeling all that well. I mean, they lived like not even a mile away from our house, but we lived on a second floor. So after you're cut open like that, you don't really want to walk upstairs. Right. But I ended up just saying to John, I'm like, we're going home. I don't care if I have to walk up the stairs. And it kind of made a rift for a short time. And the help I could have had, because it was both our faults. Both of our faults in the argument. And when John had to go back to work, I could have used that extra help. His mother and father were pretty cool. It was the first grandchild of both sides, so I got help when I absolutely needed it. But yeah, don't push away help when it's offered for sure. If say your
Absolutely.
significant other is around and there's not anything of necessity going on, if you can get away with taking a short nap, do it. Get sleep as much as you damn possible.
Yeah,
Child sleeps, you sleep. You're gonna have to be under your child's schedule for at least, I'm gonna say, at least 6 months to a year, year and a half. It's just how it is. um, what else? Just trying to think. I mean, because
yeah.
there's so
I
many
used to
things.
turn help down too, but I had my mom only lives like 2 miles from me as well. She lives close by, and of course she was like overly excited about this whole thing, but she was also there during my labor and delivery
Mm-hmm.
and saw the monster that I became because I apparently was scaring the other mothers on the ward because of my screaming and profanity. And she loves telling people the story. Oh my goodness, Michelle scared all the mothers on the ward because she kept saying "fuck." Well, I'm in pain. What do you want from me?
I didn't
So
make a damn noise. I just cried silently because I was induced. I was like,
yeah, they induced me, but and
the worst thing
uh,
ever.
12 hours later, I was finally starting, able to, push and have her. But I almost had to have a C-section. I looked at the
Mm-hmm.
doctor. He goes, we might need to prep the OR for C-section. I looked at him. I said, I don't need a fucking C-section. I can do this. And he went, okay, keep trying.
Yeah, as
So
long as it's not
she
a risk to
knew,
yourself or the baby, it's whatever.
right, and she knew at that point because she was getting offended at first during my labor and me being a bitch, and
You can't be offended by someone in labor.
she quickly learned not to. I mean, and the whole time, ironically, the whole time, the only person that didn't piss me off was my husband because he wasn't taking offense to anything. He was just
He understood.
calm and just standing there like, okay. But
Mm-hmm.
she quickly learned not to take offense. So the first week I was home with my daughter, my mom was there
Mm-hmm.
with me because I was like, please, I have no idea what to do with this kid. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I've read books about how to be a parent, but, so she was with
Applicating it.
me. But every time she wanted to do something, I would rush next to her to help her. And she's like, you don't need to help me. I've done this before. And, eventually as the week went on, she's like, do you even want me here to help you? Because every time,
Mm-hmm.
you have a chance, you don't take a nap, you don't, take a shower, you don't do anything you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be
Mm-hmm.
resting while I'm helping you. So yeah, that's one big thing because I kept trying to do everything anyway, even though I had someone there helping me.
Mm-hmm.
And I even had friends that would offer like, you want me to come over and watch her while you take a shower or watch her while you take a nap. And no, it's fine, it's fine. And I finally took someone up on an offer like that when she was about 3 months old and I hadn't slept in about 3 days. Like literally, I had not slept. And I couldn't take it anymore. I finally called my friend. I'm like, is that offer still open for you to watch her? Because I
Mm-hmm.
really need to sleep. And she's like, yeah, no problem. So, and she was already a mother, so she knew what to do. So we went over there, and I said, I only want to sleep for like 3 or 4 hours. And she's like, okay, no problem. I went to sleep, woke up 13 hours later.
Your body needed it.
I mean, it was ridiculous. So, and that's definitely one of the biggest things. Do not turn down help.
You can't take care of your kid if you can't take care of yourself.
And if you don't have people around to help you, or it's just you and your husband, or it's just you have to find a few minutes during the day for yourself. Like,
Mm-hmm.
whether that's when they're sleeping for you to, do what you want to do, or, you got to find time for yourself
They can
because
cry for a few minutes. It's okay.
it will not kill them. I promise. It makes their lungs healthy.
Yeah. What else? Oh, and if you are in a relationship, because obviously there are plenty of single parents from birth on.
Right.
Um, if you are in a relationship and you're living with your significant other, they absolutely have a responsibility to help take care of the child. Oh, I can't change a diaper. Bullshit. You can't.
Exactly.
You will learn. I can't feed the baby. Well, if you're breastfeeding, it's one thing, but guess what? There are bottles.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
especially if you're using formula. It's like, I'm sorry, you can absolutely do this. This is not a difficult thing to do.
Yeah. If you have a
Takes a few
partner, they
days
should
and
definitely
you
be
got it.
right. If you have a partner, they should definitely be pitching in. Like that
Mhm.
should be 50-50. When I'm,
You help
I'm
create it.
exactly. You help make this thing. Now you're gonna help take care of it. I don't care what you know how to do. You'll learn. Like my husband
John
didn't know
was
how to
very
change a
good with
diaper. He
Adrian.
didn't. He would hold her like this because
Like
he
a
was afraid of.
football.
But I mean, he tried. He didn't like say, "I'm not doing that." I'm not. He was the one that would catch all the puke, and
That's awesome.
and clean all the messes because I would panic and just stand there like, "Oh God, what do I do?" And he'd be like, "Get something, clean it up." So he
It's
was
like
great when
one
she was a
holds the
baby.
baby, the other person cleans.
Right. But yeah.
I mean, I remember the first couple days when obviously he wasn't working those days. We would do it together, like change a diaper together. Like, oh God, am I doing this right? you know, but we were doing it as partners. And
Yeah.
even after he went back to work, and even now, because being Adrian's autistic, he has his moments where he will not sleep. Um, that we would trade off. Like if John knows I haven't slept in a very long time, he'll let me sleep. And when it was work days, I generally would be the one to try to take care of the kid at night, unless I was just had a really bad day. But even then, he would help.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of like now. Adrian gets off the bus. I take care of Adrian. If he's, I take care of, put him to bed, get him up in the morning, put him on the bus. So I have mornings and nights kind of a thing. But when it comes to weekends, John does take a lot of the load of watching him because there are times I'm just like, no, no,
Well,
I'm self-caring right now.
well, I mean, if you're a full-time mom, like if you're a stay-at-home mom, that's your
Mhm.
full-time job. Like you don't get, a lunch break whenever, like that's it. Because I stayed home with her for like the first year, and that was my,
Mhm.
that's your full-time job. If you're a stay-at-home mom, you never get a break. So
Mhm.
yeah, on the weekends, if you're home, you can do some of this
Yeah,
because
people
I
think
need a
like
break.
being a stay-at-home mom is an easy thing. It might be when they're like of age
It's
of
not.
school,
Right.
but yeah, no,
Mm-mm.
it's not. There's always something. I mean, working and being a stay-at-home parent, they both have their difficult aspects, but they also have their bonuses as well. Like you don't need to put on makeup or even shower on a regular basis if you're a stay-at-home parent. I suggest you do that, but it's not a necessity.
Yeah.
If you're working, you do. you know, it's interesting how you have to balance. Do you have any other tips for new first moms?
No, I'm looking at our see if we have any comment. Oh, we do. Yay.
Hmm?
Hold on. Uno momento. Yeah. Okay. Comments, but not questions. Let's see. Next is, well, yeah. Why is self-care so important to have as a priority in your life? I mean, that's obvious, right?
Yeah, like
Why
I
is it
said earlier,
important?
it's like you can't take care of your children if you're not taken care of. Because, like, again, if you're not getting enough sleep, if you're not eating right, and I mean, you don't have to eat like super healthy, but you need to eat, period. Because I know a few people who were first time parents who never fucking ate. It's like, just eat, people. It's like,
You
you have the
forget to.
time. Yeah, forget, use a timer.
I would forget all the time, and I would find myself standing in the kitchen at 3 a.m. boiling bottles and nipples and pasta at the same time because I hadn't eaten yet all day, and it's already 3 a.m. Like I
That's
lived on quick
absolutely
stuff
your
like toast and.
techniques.
I mean, I
You learn
lived on
techniques.
like yeah, I lived on like crap. Like I don't know. I would make toast and I eat that, and that would be like my whole meal. I mean, if I did cook, I would cook dinner like for me and my husband, but half the time I was busy with her as a baby, and half the time I wouldn't even eat, barely eat. And you forget. I forgot,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, you gotta find time for yourself. I really, really, really wish I would have known then what I know now. Oh, it would have been
You need to
so
meet
much less
basic,
difficult. Yeah,
basic needs
basic.
are absolutely necessity, or you're going to crash and burn, and
Yeah,
you will be useless to everyone. You'll be
Yeah.
constantly grouchy. I mean, you know, first time parents are going to be grouchy. Lack of sleep is a thing. It's going to happen, but you can be a pretty miserable person to everyone when you're haven't eaten, haven't slept, haven't showered, just feel like
Oh
shit.
yeah.
You know, there's
You look like a
being
crazy
grouchy,
woman.
epic bitch.
Yeah.
Understandably why, but still. And you know, there are people who have twins and they're single parent or even triplets.
See,
God
I couldn't
forbid.
imagine. I couldn't imagine doing that.
Mhm.
I don't know how. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how they do it. Like two or three at the same time. What? Or even like
That
having
is a
kids really
juggle.
close. Like yeah, like people that have their kids back to back. It's great
Mhm.
in the long run. You know, when they're older, it's perfect. But God, taking care of them, having like two or three under three. Like no. Mm.
You you have to be like someone like Avalon, very strong-willed lady.
I
She's got a
honestly
bunch of
don't
little
have the.
ones.
Yeah,
She's
I
very
don't have the
strong.
patience.
Mhm.
I never had
Like
patience
I would like
before.
I don't have any patience either. Like I would have loved to have another child much earlier, and I'm still trying. And Adrian's almost 10.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm in my early 30s. I still have plenty of time left, but it's still like,
it's like starting all over when he gets to that age. You know.
I
It's
mean,
like
my in-laws, my sibling in-laws. Well, two of them I think they're done, but they had to within 2 years of each other, and then my sister-in-law just had a baby, and it was 4 or 5 year difference. But it's like everybody else is having babies. It's like I remember the shitty parts, so I'm fully aware of what would happen again, but I'm also
yeah,
aware of what I would have done differently. Um,
yeah. I wanted to have another one too, but the husband wasn't down with it. He was like, no, and he was more concerned about money and being able to afford it and things like that. I did. I
Here's
just
another thing: no one can afford children ever.
no. Oh hell, I was poor as hell when I had my kid.
Mhm.
I was
Same with us.
poor, and somehow she's still alive.
Yeah, there's children who live, say, like in Africa, you know, that live in mud huts. They're
Kids are
fine. They're
resilient.
still
They're
alive.
very
Yeah, kids
they're
are
tough.
very resilient. Kids
And
are
I
very
didn't
hard
know
to
that then. When my daughter was young, I didn't really quite grasp that. You know, people would be like, oh, every time she'd fall or something like that, I would freak out. But my mom and my dad would be like, she's fine. They bounce right back. They'll be fine. They can handle certain different situations. But yeah, like we had no money. I mean, we
Mm-hmm.
were poor before we had her, and then when I stopped working, it was bad. I mean, I had to get public assistance and with formula and
Well,
all
so did
that
I.
from the state.
Oh yeah,
And
so did I.
if I hadn't have gotten that, I don't know how I would have fed her.
Mm-hmm.
We had not really no money.
We find
So,
ways of getting around it, and
and now
it's
that I
usually
look
very
back,
temporary.
yeah, now that I look back, I'm like, damn, we made it work on that much money.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. It's so much different now because, for me, it's been, 15, 16 years, but, like rent was
Yeah, you've
cheaper.
got to start
Everything was
thinking
cheaper.
about other shit too.
And that's the one thing. As soon as I found out I was pregnant, I told my mom, I can't afford it. I can't afford it. She's like, it's fine. You'll be fine. I'm like, no, I won't. I can't afford it. But
Yeah,
she
no one
made
can
sure to
afford
throw me a good
children.
baby shower. She threw me a baby shower and invited a bunch of people, and I ended up
Lots of
getting
stuff.
supplies of diapers and stuff, and I was just shocked and amazed that
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually doing this. But
Mm-hmm. I
yeah,
would
like
also recommend for things not to like be worried during like baby showers and stuff. Don't ask for a bunch of clothes that are just for like super infants. Ask for things the child will grow into or things that can be used for a lengthy amount of time because they
yeah.
outgrow it very quickly and they don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
They
I
don't.
would. That's good. That's a good point because I had so many baby clothes that my daughter never even got to wear because she
Mm-hmm.
grew so fast. I had so many like 0 to 3 month clothes and like 3 to 6 month that never got worn that I had to sell like on eBay because you didn't have time.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, and besides the fact that when, you know, before I had her, I stocked up on all the regular baby clothes. She ended up being 5 pounds 8 ounces, so she needed preemie clothes, which I didn't have. So,
Right.
you know, I would say like 3 or 4 like staple outfits for the lower 0 to 1 month, 3 to 6 months, because yeah, they plump up.
And it's more like you may need more like bibs than you need.
Oh yeah,
Like, and onesies are great because a lot of times those can stretch for a while.
yeah, yeah. But
Yeah,
I had
things that
some.
you know that will be reused continuously, and like bottles, obviously, get a few that are small because you can rewash them very quickly, and then you can get like 5 big bottles, and that's perfectly fine. Like, have a travel bottle, have a bottle for this room, have a bottle for this room. You're good. You don't need to
Yeah,
get a bajillion things.
yeah. That's
I
one thing
think.
I didn't have a lot of either. I had like one bottle. I think I had like 7 or 8 maybe that I would keep continuously wash
Hmm.
because I'm not going to buy a bunch of, because eventually she's not going to use them. Like, you know,
Hmm.
yeah,
And I mean, like, there are a few staples that are expensive, like cribs, car seats. Um, I think those are the, oh, and maybe a high chair, if that. Which a lot of you don't really need a high chair either, honestly, especially for
yeah.
babies. You don't need a high chair until maybe like 1, if that. There are always alternatives for the
We
food.
had a little like $20 plastic like booster little chair thing that went on our
Hmm.
dining room table chair
Hmm.
until my mom finally got me a proper high chair, but it worked just fine. Like, as a matter of fact, yesterday, when my daughter was home yesterday, she completely like gutted her room and like rearranged everything and cleaned it, and she still had the dresser that she got, well, that I got during my baby shower for her room as a baby, and that's been her dresser for 16 years, and she just now got rid of it. Like,
Oh.
that's something that really got its use, you know,
Mhm.
like
My
things
mother
like
still
that.
has our baby dressers and uses them for storage.
Wow.
And she even gave us one that I used, and we used it for Adrian, and then I gave it back to her because she's got a pretty big house. She can use it. She needs a lot of storage.
Yeah, but I
So yeah.
mean, staple items for sure, but like
Mhm.
things you know the kid's not going to use in a year or so don't worry about. I mean, get them secondhand or,
Yeah.
you know, borrow or something,
Not a
but don't waste
commissary,
your
but
money.
not commissary, but a consignment store. A lot of consignment stores have good prices for stuff. And like his crib that we got, it was a transition crib, so it eventually turned into a bed.
Yeah, like a toddler bed,
Like
right?
it, well, it was a regular old crib that turned into. You could have, I think, a kid use it up to like age 5 or 6. It's very useful.
Let's see.
Um,
Sorry, I'm answering the question.
oh, and then like car seats, there's kinds that will transition from using as an infant to you can use it up until like age 2 because it transitions. You know, there's always things that makes life much easier. If you can have like, oh, what do they call it, like life hacks for babies.
Yeah,
There's so many.
exactly.
YouTube is a great thing, but also be mindful of what is totally unreasonable too.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Let's see.
take baths when you can, like just chill out with some like bath salt. Maybe not bath salts, but like not what I meant by bath salts, but you guys know what I mean. Like take a bath or take a really nice warm shower, go get your nails done. And if you don't have family or friends close, find maybe a daycare. I generally am not a pro daycare type person because they're
Yeah.
expensive as shit. But there are sometimes people who are like professional babysitters or something. You
Yeah.
may need to look into something like that, or even a teenager in the area that may have a lot of younger siblings, so they're familiar with taking care of a little kid.
That was one thing I was terrified of when my daughter was a baby was other people. Like leaving her
Mm-hmm.
with other people that weren't my family. I
Mm-hmm.
absolutely didn't want to do it, hated it. I had, when she was, I don't know, between 8 and 9 months old, one of my mom's friends had a friend who watched children in her home, like 2 kids. And so she said, yeah, we can watch hers. And before I even let this lady watch my kid, I went over to her house. I wanted to go through her house and look through it. And, I ran her, I Googled her name, ran her name, tried to, find something out, look public records. Like, I was scared. And I finally let my daughter go over there and be watched by her. And my daughter ended up really liking it there. When I came to pick her up, she wouldn't want to leave. When she, but that was a short-term thing. And the daycare thing, I had problems. I had tried 3 or 4 different places and didn't like any of them before I finally found the school that she's actually still going to. And she's been there since she was not even 2. And it's hard to find somewhere good, but
she's her own kids that she's friends with, pretty much.
But there's one thing that I know they do. I don't know about other countries, but the YMCA every month has family nights or parent nights where you can. It's usually like 18 months and up, I think, but you can drop your kids off for like 2 or 3 or 4 hours and actually go out and have some time to yourself, and and that's just one night a month. It's not like so I mean,
but I totally
any
get
little
the stranger
thing.
babysitting stuff. We still don't really let anybody watch Adrian, but again, he's special needs, so he's got some things that we're really aware of. But I'm lucky to be in an area where it's been my whole family is very supportive, so it's not.
Well, especially in this day and age, where you see all these people like, posting these videos of catching their babysitters like hitting their kids or neglecting the kids. It's like, what the hell? These people thought this person was okay. So it's like nerve-wracking, but
that is the it isn't the rule. It's the exception to the rule that those things happen. I mean,
yeah,
they're a little more common than people think it is, but don't be scared to look at people who are well respected, who have a good background. And what you did, like going and looking at the place, talking to people who may use their services, that's absolutely a good idea to do.
Yeah.
If you're looking into something that is kind of like, say, outside the norm.
Yeah, definitely. And let's see. Lastly, we pretty much covered this one, but stigma about asking for help when you need it.
Yeah.
You gotta have some help.
I know
take
it's
it when it's offered.
Combination of, oh, go ahead.
No, I mean, take it when it's offered. Like, and ask if you have to. Like, there's nothing wrong with asking.
Yeah, you gotta sometimes put your pride aside, because sometimes it's pride and sometimes it's like you feel like a failure if you have to ask. No, you're not a failure if you have to ask for help. It's just shit happens, you can't do everything by yourself in life. You need support. Having at least a core group, it could be like 2 or 3 people that you have as support, is really necessity. A lot of people are able to do that, but of course there are sometimes, say, you're in a foreign country and you got knocked up and you're a single parent now and you're by yourself and you can't get back home where you would have the support. Connect with people. There are bajillion mom groups on the internet in just about every city, I'm sure. There are churches, be it your pagan, you can go to a UU church or a coven if you have a coven you associate with, or if you're Christian, a lot of Christian places have huge supports for children. You just kind of sometimes have to think out of the box when you're kind of tied.
Yeah, in my area, they had these things they were like mom meetups, and they would meet up every week. And then there was also a schedule that they had to where each mom got a certain night. Like all the moms would take their kids to Mom A's house for for 2 or 3 hours, and Mom A would watch the kids. And then the next one was Mom B's turn, and she would do it. Like, where they rotated watching the kids so the other moms could like have some time to themselves, something like that. Especially if you're somewhere where your family's not around or you don't really know anybody, like those could potentially be, times where you could get some time to yourself or actually meet people, friends with kids the same age, stuff like that.
Definitely.
So
support is a huge thing. And again, ask for help when you need it. Don't deny help if you know you need it and people offer
Right.
it. Try to find a support system. Don't be afraid of breaking your child. You're not going to break your child. I'm sure every parent has dropped their child in some way, shape, or form in a younger years at some point, or they've rolled off the couch or rolled off the bed.
Yep.
Yeah, that shit happens. Adrian rolled off the couch when he was just a few months old, and I freaked the fuck out.
So did Haley.
My mom was just laughing at me. She's like, "It's fine. Is he crying?" No. Like, he cried for like a minute, and he was fine.
Mine rolled off because she was sleeping when she was like 2 months old, and then when she rolled off, hit the ground and just kept sleeping. And I'm freaking out.
Again, kids are resilient as shit.
Yeah.
I would recommend carpet for sure, though.
Yeah.
It may stain, but get a carpet, at least for under the bed or any place that you're going to have your child, like, not buckled into one of those bouncy chairs or something.
Yeah.
It's useful.
Let's see. Let's see. Do we have? If y'all have any questions, ask them now because we're just about done.
Yeah.
I have
and
comments.
Though this is a Pagan Moms hangout, this is just a very general topic.
Yeah.
No questions, you said?
Hold on. I'm slow. I'm slow.
What were some of the comments?
Wanted to know where we were from. Gen H.
Washington.
Yeah, Washington and Florida. Hi, Gen H. Let's see. Yeah. Someone said, I highly recommend asking for practical items and long-term use things for baby shower gifts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, registering for certain things and stuff like that. Yeah. Like,
or even just asking for money. That is not a bad thing, because then you can buy what you need to.
Yeah. This other comment says that she lives far away from her family and friends, and it's just her and her husband. Mm-hmm. And they have a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old, and life is crazy, of course. And she says she doesn't trust anyone to take care of her kids, so they have a little system to make sure that they each get time to themselves. Like, yeah, like if you can figure out a little like system where you can like tag team and like it's your turn.
When it comes down to it, it's just you got to make that effort to really follow through on that system.
Yeah, like because I started working at night. When Haley was about 9 or 10 months old, I forget. Mm-hmm. I had a part-time job at night, but before then, when my husband would come home from work, you know, he would shower and relax for like a little bit, and then that's when I would take my time and go either try and take a nap or go, you know, take a shower, take a bath. Mm-hmm. Like when he came home, that was, you know, it was his turn. He took over, and then I would go and, you know, take time for myself.
Yeah, you got to be mindful though when there's a family member working. They need some rest too. So what we did, because when he went back to work, he would pretty much have an hour of downtime immediately after. So he just like had some decompressing time basically, and then he got into being parent. I mean, occasionally there were times where it's just like, no, you just gotta take it now. It's like I'm going nuts.
Yeah, on those days I would be just waiting at the door holding her here. I can't do it. Take her. No. But yeah, if you can figure that out. I mean, when I started working at night, I had her all day. Mm-hmm. And then he would get home. We'd be home together for maybe 30 minutes to an hour where he would have time to himself. Not really. And then I would go to work, and that started becoming hard where, you know, especially if you're both working or trying to juggle jobs and take care of yourself, that becomes hard. But that's when you look forward to the weekends.
I worked, right. I did find when I worked, that was a break for me.
Yes. Oh, I enjoyed it. I loved going to work at night.
You could socialize with people that are your age, or at least adults that weren't children. You didn't have to be discussing children at all.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. What did I do? I worked from 6 to 10 p. Yeah, 6 to 10 p.m. like Monday through Friday. So it was only like 4 hours, but those 4 hours I was in a quiet office with adults. I talked about adult stuff. I wasn't watching like Barney or whatever the hell I had to watch during the day. I don't even know what kids watch nowadays, but whatever. Like, you know, it was nice.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, even if you want to, getting a part-time job might be a way to have time for yourself and make money and socialize with adults. Because that's the one thing I remember drove me nuts, was having hardly any interaction with other adults during the day. And because most of my friends were my age, most of my friends were like around my age at the time and didn't have kids yet. They all have kids now, but
they hadn't hit that like mature level yet.
So we had nothing in common. So I'd be calling and being like, yeah, oh yeah, she did 2 poops today and had diarrhea. And my friends would be like, I don't care. Oh yeah, I fed her some peas. Like, that's all I talked about. So, yeah, having a job is a nice way, at least a part-time job. That's another way to kind of get some reprieve. But whatever you got to do to get time for yourself, you got to do it, or you're not going to be a happy mommy.
Or daddy.
Or dad, yeah. But
any more comments? Or was that it?
I think that's it for now. Let me see. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, that's it for now. So.
Okay. Well, we've got a few more minutes just to make it a full hour. Now, to implement the pagan aspect, I think if you're part of a coven, absolutely use that to your advantage for sure.
Yeah.
Meditation for some downtime. You could be completely present with your child and meditate, like be napping or just chilling out watching Barney or something. Clearly, you can tell what generation kind of we're from. Like meditation, you can be mindful of what's going on and be zenned out, I guess you would say. And that's a good thing. I think
that's pretty much what I did. Like, I would rock her to sleep for her naps, and now that I think about it, I was, I had my eyes closed and I was pretty much meditating too. But back then, I didn't really, get it or know even care about that stuff at the time. But I would sit there and just, try and quiet my mind and do some deep breathing while she was falling asleep on my shoulder. And so, yeah, even if it's just closing your eyes and
feel you're relaxed, they're relaxed.
Yes.
If they feel you're anxious, they'll be anxious.
Yes. And before I knew it, she'd be fast asleep and I'd be ready. Sometimes I'd be relaxed enough to take a nap myself. So, just closing your eyes for a minute and, zoning out. It's better than nothing.
And there's always little ways of like using essential oils and whatnot just to make, if not the household, smell relaxing.
Lavender was my favorite thing to use for my daughter.
I wasn't using essential oils at that time, but I would be using jasmine big time.
Oh, that's a nice one.
I need to get more of it.
Well, that baby lotion and baby stuff that they sell, it's like it's purple and I think it has like lavender. Yeah, it has lavender. It's like a bedtime one.
I think so.
It's like I don't know, Johnson & Johnson or something like that.
Of course it is.
Yeah, well,
everything.
Yeah. Well, we got all that, and then I started with a diffuser with some of that stuff. But that's one smell that would not only relax me, but I think it helped relax her. But yeah, some people like different scents, but that's one, like light flower scents. I don't know why they're relaxing for the babies.
Smells like outside.
Yeah, we had continuous like stream and waterfall music in the background of my daughter's room. When she, probably for the first 3 or 4 years, it was constantly on repeat, this CD in her room of like water going down the stream and stuff like that. So it was kind of like a Zen garden in her little nursery.
Yeah, we have one of those like moving pictures that you can find at a lot of like Asian stores for whatever reason, but like I think you can find them at like Walmart too. But it's like a flat picture, and then they have some moving lights behind it, so it kind of makes it look like maybe if it's a water scene, like the water's moving.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they have that like natural waves sound, or if it's jungle, they'll have like waterfall sound and birds. We had that up years, and it was like it did double time with the nightlight music and just soothing sounds and whatnot.
Yeah, some of that stuff for babies is really good for the adults too, you know?
Yes. It would help knock me out quite a bit because it's
Yeah,
repetitive noise and it's white noise.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely look into those things for sure.
But
um,
I always think back to, I wish I had the tools that I have now, and
mhm.
especially with my practice and everything. I wish if I knew then what I know now, I could have made things a lot easier for myself, or
That's usually how it is.
for my baby, or I could have done a little bit more here, a little bit more there with certain things. Um, but yeah, I wasn't exactly pagan when I was a new mom.
Me either. But obviously, we implemented pagan things
Yeah,
um, into all that as well, and a lot of people do. It doesn't even need to be called pagan. It's just, I don't know, nature-based things,
yeah,
which I guess is pagan.
same thing.
Yeah, pretty much. All right. Well, we've answered our questions. We've read off the comments. I think we've covered pretty much everything we can in this. And if the other ladies want to maybe touch on this topic on things we maybe not talked about, I'm sure they could potentially do a video response or something as well.
Yeah,
But yeah, so we will do this again next month, last weekend of next month. Don't know the topic yet, but I'm sure I will update that at some point.
and if any of you moms that are watching are interested in joining us on one of these hangouts, let us know down below in the comment section. And I'll leave the links in the description to our Facebook group, the Pagan Moms Hangout Facebook group. That way, we can all interact. And if you want to join in, you can join us sometime.
Yes. All right. Well, I think that went well. So we'll talk to you all next month.
Bye.
Bye.